team? It's your boy D Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with the big debate: American capitalism versus German socialism, salaries, taxes, and social contributions, part 2. I'm intrigued to hear more after hearing that first part. I'm intrigued to hear her start breaking down like all the other things that Americans pay for that are actually included in German taxes. And so I'm interested. But before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, give the video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. You guys got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. Oh my God!
Significantly greater take-home pay after all of that's taken into account. But to be honest here, if we were to just stop the video at this point, we wouldn't really be looking at the bigger picture. Because the thing is, when looking at these calculations, our German family and our German single worker has already prepaid into a lot of things that Americans choose to pay for out of pocket. So for the next section, I think it's important that we start to take into account all of those other factors to exactly find out how much does that level the playing field. So
that's what I was waiting for.
Let's start taking all of that into account.
That's what I was waiting for.
The United States spends more per student on colleges and universities than nearly every other country in the developed world, according to the latest statistics released by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And hey, if you would like a more detailed breakdown on the costs of university between the US and Germany, well, we have a video on it. So if you want to take a look at that, please click the link down in the description below in this video. But to summarize, most American graduates have some help paying for college, whether it's through scholarships, grants, or financial help from their parents, or a combination of all three. But since the US does not have free university tuition like we have here in Germany, well, it's only fair that we at least make the presumption that, like the majority of American university graduates, Steve has some student loans to pay off.
Yeah, Steve, he got student loans. Yeah. What'd you say? He got some student loans. Yeah. If he went to college, got that degree, more than likely, like she said, most of the American graduates, you got some student loans.
Take a look at the side-by-side for our single brothers, Steve and Max. Now, Max went to uni in Germany and left with no student loan debt. But things are different for Steve. According to SparrowFi, the average student loan debt at the end of a 4-year mechanical engineering degree in the United States is $23,000. For our calculation, we'll presume that Steve is on a standard 10-year repayment plan with a current interest rate for federal student loans of 5%. This means that he has a monthly payment of $243.95. Now, at his income, Steve can deduct up to $2,500 of the amount of interest he paid during each year, which does in fact reduce his taxable income. And presuming the repayment plan presented above at 5% interest, that does change our calculation a tiny amount, as he now has an additional $146.37 in student loan interest to deduct on his taxes. So at the end of the day, his take-home pay goes down to $65,498 after the deduction. And with 12 student loan payments totaling $2,927.40, this further declines to $62,570.60 per year. Okay, so that takes care of Steve. But let's also take a look at our families. Once again, both of our income earners in Germany benefited from low to no cost college educations and left with no debt. They also get to benefit from this system when it comes to their children. Whether they choose to pursue technical, trade, or university degrees, their taxes have helped to pay for their future children's educations, as well as contribute to the education of the entire community. Now, back in the United States, I'm going to give Steve and Stephanie the benefit of the doubt that with 15 years of work experience under their belt, that they did happen to stick to their 10-year repayment plan, and that they currently carry no student loan debt for this calculation. But that doesn't necessarily take into account the college education costs for their children. Now, while there is no law that stipulates that parents are required to pay for college in the United States, the majority of American families do consider this as part of their budget.
I'm going to be like, hey, you feel me? I'm going to be like, hey, kids, me and your moms, we went to college, we got our degree, we hit the 10-year repayment plan, kids. So y'all don't really need our help. Y'all just do what we did. Get them loans and hit the 10-year repayment plan. Nah, but I understand what she's saying. As a parent, you definitely want to be able to pay. If your kid chooses to do higher education, you definitely want to be able to pay for it.
The majority of American families do consider this as part of their budget. According to educationdata.org, nearly 2/3 of American parents who expect their child to attend college are saving or creating plans to cover the costs.
That makes sense.
On average, parents save $5,143 annually for their child's college, with about 30% putting that money into what's known as a 529 plan. So with two little ones' futures to think of.
See, they ain't even tell us about no 529 plan. Yeah, y'all can see I didn't grow up comfortable. I grew up with everything I needed. Never really never needed for anything. Wanted a lot of things, but never needed for anything. But I ain't know anything. I ain't even know. I'm just now finding out what a 529 is. College savings plan, like a 401k. I don't even do a 401k. That's interesting.
Let's presume that Steve's family is giving the average of $5,143 into a 529 plan.
Okay.
Again, while this doesn't happen to change their tax situation, it does in fact reduce their disposable income down to $156,838 or $13,069.83 per month.
Damn. Ooh. I feel like this where a hit gonna come.
Next up is healthcare, and it's a big one. Wealthy countries, including the US, tend to spend more per person on healthcare and related expenses than lower income countries. However, even as a high-income country, the US spends more per person on healthcare than comparable countries. Yet, despite the crushing effect that these costs have on American lives, the U.S. is the only industrialized nation without universal health insurance.
Crazy.
The Kaiser Family Foundation estimates that the country's collective medical debt is almost $200 billion. And again, guys, I feel like this goes without saying, but this video is already long enough, so there's really no feasible way that I could comprehensively cover the difference between public and private healthcare in both the U.S. and Germany.
I feel that.
But we've dedicated 2 videos to breaking this down in detail, giving real-world examples. So if you want to learn more, please click the links down in the description of this video. Now, as I mentioned earlier, for the single workers and the family of workers in Germany, well, they've already prepaid their healthcare costs. So if we're going to do a fair and balanced comparison, it's only right that I do my best to try to estimate these costs for Steve and Stephanie's family in the United States. And because the majority of Americans are not actually enrolled in Medicare or Medicaid, but actually participate in the private healthcare system, I'm going to be using this as the benchmark for this analysis. When I worked for an American university, I was enrolled with a PPO plan through Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City. And although the copy of my HR briefing book is from 2014, I'm going to use it because it's a real-world example of the costs associated with healthcare. And really, it was a pretty good plan as far as American coverage and cost is concerned. So again, watch the video in the description if you'd like a full explanation.
Yeah, I gotta
But
check
that
it
being
out.
said, the dollar has had an average inflation rate of 2.91% per year between 2014 and today.
I definitely feel it. Every 2.19% of that is felt in my pocket.
Producing a cumulative price increase of just over 25%. So I'm going to take those costs from 2014 and increase them by 25% to be balanced. Okay, so assuming Steve was offered the same PPO plan through Blue Cross Blue Shield at his engineering firm, adjusted for inflation, his rates for his premium are actually really pretty low at just $55 a month.
That's it.
But from there, there's a lot of factors that could change his financial situation. With this plan, Steve would need to hit a deductible of approximately
Okay.
$3,100 before his insurance even paid just 80% of the costs. And this is all assuming that the doctors he sees are in network. But you know, he's a 23-year-old guy. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's probably a pretty healthy dude. And he's probably only going to see the doctor once a year and the dentist twice a year for his regular checkups.
Yeah, she ain't lying. I'm 20. As soon as I fell off my parents' insurance, I haven't had health insurance since. But I've been okay. I'm just out here living in danger. If I ever do have to go to the hospital, I'm broke. It's gonna break me. I mean,
once a year and the dentist twice a year for his regular checkups. And he's only paying probably $40 a pop in a copay in order to go see them. In the end, between the premiums and these copays, it's not a huge hit to his disposable income. It's only about $780 in total, but I'll take it out because, again, we're trying to be fair here. Now, for families in the U.S. with private health care, things get quite a bit more expensive.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. Under the same PPO plan with inflation, a family health insurance premium would cost roughly $910.50 every month. Under this plan, should they have any medical needs, they would need to have a deductible to hit first, which is approximately $1,250 before insurance began to pay 80% of the costs. Then a yearly out-of-pocket maximum of approximately $7,000 before 100% of the costs are covered. But again, you know, making these kinds of calculations is ultimately really, really tough because we have 4 people here to account for. If they're healthy and they're only going to just their regular doctor's checkups, you know, they might just have that premium and a copay here or there to worry about. But if they get into an accident, if anyone happens to become ill or disabled, it can radically change your financial situation. According to the Commonwealth Fund, the median yearly household spending and out-of-pocket costs in the state of Colorado in 2017 was $1,150. So if we take this amount, plus 12 months of a $910.50 premium, which totals just under $11,000, we get a total of $12,076 in healthcare costs.
My God, guys. So we went from $55 as one person only to $910 as a family of 4. Good Lord.
Reducing their disposable income to $144,762 and a monthly take-home pay of $12,063.50.
Cost of unemployment. Huh.
Next up is unemployment insurance. And in the United States, all of the U.S. states, with the exception of Montana, are what are termed at-will employment. Most do have exceptions, but the states of Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia, Nebraska, Maine, New York, and Rhode Island do not follow any exceptions. And essentially, what at-will employment means is that an employer can terminate an employee for no reason, except an illegal one, or for no reason without incurring legal liability.
Okay.
At will also means that an employer can change the terms of employment relationship with no notice and no consequences. In contrast, there are significant worker protections here in Germany. Someday, I think it would be super interesting to make a video on this subject because, quite frankly, it is very difficult to lose your job here in Germany. And even if you did lose your job, because maybe your position happened to be eliminated altogether, Germans still benefit from a continuation of healthcare coverage and actually pretty generous unemployment insurance as well. In short, you will benefit from 60% of your previous average wage, or 67% if you have children, up to a maximum of 7,050 euros per month in West Germany and 6,750 euros in East Germany. Now, the U.S. Department of Labor does have an unemployment program. But to be honest, it's not much. If you're looking at a single worker like Steve or a family man like Steve who actually has a much higher wage, in total, they're probably going to get anywhere from like $240 to $450 a week, which ultimately ends up being around 15% of their wages.
Yeah.
So since unemployment insurance is one of those things that Germans actually pay for through social contributions, again, it's only fair that we presume that both single Steve and family man Steve are paying into some kind of safety net in the event that they happen to lose their job.
I feel like I'm learning a whole lot in this video. I honestly did not know unemployment insurance was a thing. I thought you just lose your job and you go to like some government places or whatever and you can get on unemployment. But I didn't know that like there's actual unemployment insurance. I don't know any of this stuff. They should teach a lot of this stuff in school. I feel like a lot of this stuff should be taught. That's crazy. I'm learning so much in this video.
Some kind of safety net in the event that they happen to lose their job. The only problem is that these type of supplemental insurance policy plans don't really exist in the United States. So honestly, the best protection is to build up a robust emergency fund through savings. But that's something that's easier said than done. It was reported in 2020 by the Federal Reserve that 37% of Americans would not be able to pay a $400 emergency expense without either borrowing money or selling something.
Wow.
But fair is fair. And in Germany, unemployment insurance totals 1.2% of your gross income. And while saving just a little over 1% of your income every month isn't exactly going to build up your savings quickly, it's something. And again, I'm doing my best to be fair and balanced here. So for our US single Steve, this is going to reduce his take-home pay by $1,052 and bring down his disposable income to $60,739. For the family, 1.2% of their gross cumulative income is $1,838.48, which will bring down their disposable income to $142,923.52.
We're gonna stop it right here for part 2. I can't wait for part 3 and the ending to see exactly how much the single worker and the family take home. I can't wait to see if my guesses were correct in the part 1 of who takes home the most. But that's all we got for this one. You guys got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, give the video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. It's your boy Neal. Out.